Welcome back to the Graham Stephan Show, and I just can't help myself. I gotta comment on this video because it's a bit of a trigger warning here. Some people really enjoy it, other people they think it's bonkers. Title is, The Real Reason You Should Not Save Money. So I want to comment on this as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you so much. Oh, and also a big thank you to Relay for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Let's begin.
You know, when I was younger, I had this crazy spending problem, and I've also seen people who don't seem to spend anything. Is that equally bad behavior?
Yeah, I think it's equally bad because both of them are the exact same thing, which is money's controlling you. Money should be a tool that you use to become a better version of yourself. But when it's controlling your personality, it's no different than like any other addiction.
Here's the thing though, I would rather be controlled by money and have millions of dollars in the bank than be controlled by money and be broke, right? It's like you'd rather be addicted to going to the gym all day than addicted to Big Macs and cheeseburgers. It's like, okay, between the two, they're not equal. I think one is objectively a better outcome than the other one, right? Isn't it better just to save? Okay, we'll continue.
A lot of financial advisors will tell you one of the biggest problems that they have are clients who have saved enough money for retirement. And now you're 70 years old and you have enough money to travel and play golf and you won't do it. And I think it's because they become so accustomed to the identity of I'm a saver. Money should be a tool that you use to become a better version of yourself. But when it's controlling your personality, it's no different than like any other addiction.
Again though, I disagree with this. I think that's a great problem to have. Oh gosh, I can't spend all of my money. I don't want to spend the millions of dollars that I saved up over my entire... Now I get it, okay? He's making a point here that people have saved their entire lives. They've sacrificed so much to be able to do these things, and then when they're able to do the things, they can't do it because they feel bad that they've spent their entire lives working towards this thing and they can't do it. It's a real problem, but I would say that's a better problem than saying, oh crap, I gotta work until I'm 95 years old and I can't pay for the groceries this month because I didn't save enough. I just think between the two, I'd rather have a lot more money saved up than a lot less. All things being equal, I would have rather overworked than not worked enough because you don't quite know when the enough is.
Does more money make you happy? Some of the studies showed, yes, clearly it does. Other studies showed, no, it really doesn't. If you are already an unhappy person, if you're already anxious, if you're already depressed, by and large, having more money will not help you, at least that much. If you are already a happy, content, joyful, laughing person, having more money will give you a better life.
Here's what they found though when it comes to those studies. There was a survey, this is many years ago, that people just parrot because they think it's the most relevant data out there and everyone's heard it, okay? That is simply that beyond about $75,000, $80,000 a year, that you don't really become more happy with the more money you make. It was really found that like, okay, $80,000 a year was optimal. Except when you really look at the study, it was done such a long time ago, not in the United States. It was done, I believe, somewhere in Europe. And when you applied that to the United States, other surveys found that the peak happiness was somewhere in the $100,000 range, $125,000 give or take. But other studies show that happiness actually increases the more money you make. It's just at $125,000, $150,000 a year. You start getting these diminishing returns, where the more money you make is not the equivalent amount of happiness. So it's like going from $50,000 to $100,000 a year in the United States, huge difference. But going from $100,000 to $150,000, little less happiness. Going from $150,000 to $200,000, little less happiness. Going from $200,000 to $400,000, little less happiness. And it really found that things tend to taper off around $500,000 a year, give or take, in the United States. And then, believe it or not, once you begin making too much money, the curve actually starts going down, where the more money you have, the more problems you have, the less happiness you have, the less satisfaction you have. So there's actually a point of diminishing returns. So I tend to think here in the United States, if you're making a few $100,000 a year, that tends to be where money and happiness intersect at the perfect point, and then beyond like $3 or $4 million a year, you actually tend to be less happy than if you were making less, just because you probably have a higher stress career, more obligations, more problems, more hassles, more things to think about. Yeah, that's the latest info on happiness and money. It should be about a few $100,000 a year. in the United States today.
Let's say you are overweight and unhappy. You hate your job and you're recently divorced and your kids won't talk to you, but you live in a mansion that has a Ferrari in the driveway. Is that a good life? But you can flip that around and say, like, let's say you live in a very modest middle-class house and you drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic, but you love your job. You have a great relationship with your spouse. Your kids admire you. You have your friends over for a barbecue every Friday night. You would be an absolute maniac to choose the miserable person in the mansion.
Yeah, but you could also have the mansion, Ferrari, and a family that loves you too. I mean, that's a thing as well. I really tend to believe that it's all about doing what you enjoy and have fun with. You know, again, like what he said of going to a job you absolutely despise just to get these things you don't need for a lifestyle that other people aspire to. I mean, that's dumb. But if you enjoy those things, whatever it might be, if it's barbecuing on a Friday night, great. If it's going out to a club, great. I don't care. Whatever you enjoy, whatever gets you to that point where you just have fun and have a safe, stable life, that's what I'm for. That's what everyone I think should be optimizing for.
I'm building sandcastles with my kids on the beach in Maui. And that, I remember thinking like, this is a 10 out of 10. This is peak life for me.
Look, the thing about building wealth is that people assume the more money you make, the more complicated things have to be. But that's just flat out not true. Like in reality, the businesses that grow the fastest tend to have the simplest, cleanest systems. Like here's the thing, if you're growing a business and you're still guessing, what's for taxes, what's for payroll, what's for expenses, and digging through old payments to guess which payments went where, that's a problem, especially when everything starts falling through the cracks. That's why our sponsor, Relay, is there to help. For those unaware, they built a no hidden fee online business banking and money management platform that's actually designed around how small business owners operate. For instance, I like how Relay makes it really easy to create an actual financial structure, not just one account where everything blends together. They do this by allowing you to open up to 20 checking accounts, so you could separate income, taxes, payroll, or savings, or whatever other categories help you stay clear about where your money's supposed to go. Relay also allows your team to have their own logins and custom permissions, whether that's a bookkeeper, an assistant, or whoever manages operations. That way, you stay in full control while still letting people handle the day-to-day in a safe, secured way. Then from there, anytime you need to pay vendors or contractors, you don't need to switch between tools. Relay has built-in bill pay, so you could send ACH, wires, or checks right from the same dashboard. For so many businesses, getting this piece right is the difference between constantly putting out fires and actually focusing on growth. Plus, Relay connects directly to Xero and QuickBooks, which means your books stay organized and audit-ready without the hassle of manual tracking. So if you want to build a system that actually supports the business you're growing, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link down below in the description to sign up for Relay today. Again, the link is down below or scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video.
I think a lot of the reason that people like travel is not because they like getting on an airplane and flying around the world and being jet lagged and cramped into a small hotel. What they like is uninterrupted time away from work, away from all the other stresses of everyday life.
I don't know. I think when it comes to travel, what you really enjoy the most is novelty. And it was actually found that if you want to get the most life enjoyment and slow down time, believe it or not, going and experiencing new things in your brain, you perceive time to go a lot slower, things feel a lot longer, things feel more exciting, it releases more dopamine, and it's all just about novel, new experiences. And that's actually one of the reasons why time seems to speed up as you get older, is because you get in these routines, these rhythms, where all of a sudden your brain is just operating on autopilot. It's just like waking up in the morning to an alarm, going and drinking the same coffee every single day, the same commute, going at the same job, doing the same things. Your brain starts like tuning out points of the day that aren't really important, that it doesn't need to be thinking. And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh wow, that day went by fast. I can't remember what last week I did. It's nothing. But when you go and do new things, or take a new route to work, or try a new coffee, or go out to a new place for dinner, like little things that are new, your brain now perceives that as this entirely new event, and just by extension of that, you'll feel like time is moving slower, you'll feel like you have more time, and that's the trick there. It's just new novel experiences.
Two things happened to Julia Roberts this week. One, she won the Academy Award, and two, she found out her husband was cheating on her. And so the column said, pop quiz, did Julia Roberts have a good week? And it's like, you'd be a fool to say yes. It was probably the worst week of her life. But it gets back to, once you see the full picture, you're like, nah, it's not as easy as it seems.
Wait, is that real? Julia Roberts husband cheated on her? Julia Roberts and Danny Moder were accused of having an affair. That's the thing. I just don't have sympathy for people who are going and doing this thing and they get caught. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, what did you expect? What did you expect by going and sneaking around? It's just a matter of time. And even if you do get away with it and feel good about yourself, I mean, that I would say is, if that's the case, if she was cheating, and again, all of these are rumors. It could just be they had lunch as friends, some paparazzi comes and takes a photo, spins a story, TMZ gets a hold of it. In reality, it's like some innocent thing, but then they spun it into something different. Who knows? Who knows at this point with the media? They do whatever gets them clicks. So anyway, we'll move on.
The formula for a pretty good life is independence plus purpose. You need to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it with, and you need some kind of purpose that is higher than yourself.
I completely agree with that. Just having the ability to control your day, even if you're so busy throughout the day and you're like stressed out, just the fact that you are the one deciding what you do, even if that thing is very difficult, is completely freeing. It's just a different mindset. Like if I were paid a salary to go and like do these videos, and someone was like, all right, this day you had to film this, and this day you had to do, I just wouldn't enjoy it because I'd feel like I'm on someone else's time. But just the fact that I could, on my own free will, see a video like this and decide, you know what, I got something to say about it. I'm gonna go and record a video for people to hopefully enjoy and watch. That is awesome. And if I really decide I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. Just the freedom to go and say, hey, I want to do this thing. Oh, I wish everybody watching has the ability to have that experience at some point in their life or for their entire life. And it could even be outside of work. Like even if you have like a 9-to-5 job, what about on the weekends, you could decide, hey, I want to take on this project. I want to do this thing. Maybe over time that thing starts to grow and becomes your full-time work. I mean, that I think is the dream for everybody out there, is just find a hobby that turns into a job that you could do full-time because you love it so much. I wish that on everybody.
Every dollar that you save is a little bit more independent than you were before. If $1,000, $10,000, any amount that you have is a little bit more independent than you were before. One of the cores of living a good life is independence. And any amount of saving money will buy you independence.
I 100% agree with this. This is the thing of this video that is so important, even though it's the antithesis of what the title is. The real reason you should be saving money is simply for optionality and freedom. I completely agree. I mean, imagine if you save a day worth of your paycheck or a day worth of your expenses. That is a day in the future that you 100% get to own as your own. I apologize for that. I'm watching a car on Cars and Bids right now that is auctioning, so I have some stuff in the background. But anyway, I 100% agree with that. It's so important. And I view all of my savings the same way as well. It's just the optionality to go and do a thing. Even if I'm not going to do the thing, I could if I wanted to. Like this car on carsandbids.com. I could go and bid on it because, I think it might be a good deal. It's a Tesla Model S, and it's used, and they're selling for half price right now. Like, I might. I'm probably not going to, but I could. And that's the point of saving, is that you could do those things, even though you might not. That's all it's about.
Some level of higher end independence is I could keep myself going for 6 months. Now, for a lot of people, that's a daunting task, but that is a level at which you can exhale to a degree that most people have never been able to do before. Of like, there's going to be some bad stuff happening in your life. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. 6 months is a really good amount of time where if you lose a job, you could find another job, most likely within that 6 months, pick up and then get going again. The other thing too is that by lowering your expenses and cutting things out you don't need, that 6 months becomes a lot more achievable. Like it's way easier to save 6 months worth of expenses when you're not living in a $10,000 a month penthouse than, renting out a more modest, like, a nice 2-bedroom for $3,500 a month. You could get your expenses down to a point where you could save that 6 months, and then all of a sudden from there, you just save the difference. It's awesome. Lower your expenses. That should always be number one.
I was reading some stats that, quite funny stats, but they say that essentially that if you win the lottery, the probability of your neighbor going bankrupt increases.
Right. It's an amazing statistic.
That is crazy. What? It goes to show you just how dumb a lot of people are. My gosh. Just to see like, my neighbor bought that BMW and now I gotta buy the BMW too. Come on. I mean, it just goes to show you that you are really who you hang around, for better or worse. And if your neighbors are spending a whole bunch of money and buying the newest, latest, and greatest, and you feed into that, my gosh, if you can't afford it, you're all gonna get screwed. Everyone's gonna lose. It really goes to show you just stay in your own path, do your own thing. Don't do things because other people are doing them. Think independently. I think independent thought goes such a long way. It's so underutilized that more people would be better off just trying to come up with their own opinions and sticking with them.
Be careful who you socialize with, because you're going to anchor to them as a baseline level of success and happiness.
Here's the other thing too. We had Chris Camillo on the podcast in his coffee hour. He's talking about raising kids and making sure they're not spoiled. Well, one of the things is that socially in his area, it's common that your kids go to nicer places, nicer restaurants, they have, tennis, they have all these extracurriculars, and if you deprive your children of that in those social circles, the kids will feel like a social outcast. So you have to do these things. I think the same applies in wealthier areas too. If you want to feel like you fit in with the larger context of the entire group, you have to almost do those things. Otherwise, you're considered like the social outcast. Again, so your area really does begin to shape you and your spending.
It was easier for people in Tahoe to be like, I'm good, I checked the boxes. Like, look, I'm successful. Look at my tiny little house and my beat up pickup truck. That's success, right? And so that was like, be careful who you socialize with, because you're going to anchor to their level of success.
So overall, I gotta say that when it comes to saving, I think sometimes it's better to oversave than undersave, because you never know what life might throw your way. But after a certain point, though, I will say, to his first point, it does become really hard to want to spend the money when you put so much time into saving it. Like, I could resonate with some of his early retirees who've saved for 40 years and now they're terrified to spend the money, even though they're in poor health, they're aging quickly. And they're like, no, but I spent 40 years saving this $2 million and I don't want to touch it now. I understand that, because you've built up these habits of saving for such a long time that going against 40 years worth of habits is really, really, really difficult. And that's something too, that even for me, I still resist going and paying for parking $5 to avoid walking a mile. Believe it or not, I actually did this the other day. It would be $15 for an Uber, or I just walk 1.2 miles. And I was like, I may as well just walk the 1.2 miles and save the $15. And, it's probably better exercise to walk anyway. And I walked. I saved the $15. And so, some of these habits, though, are really hard to break. Even going and getting guacamole at Chipotle, I'm like, that's not worth it. Even though I could afford the guacamole, I'm just not going to do it. I feel like it's a bad value. So I've been slowly trying to loosen the pockets a little bit, spend a little more. It's just really difficult. And by a little more, I'm being an extra $20 here. It's hard for me to do. So I do agree with that. But let me know what your comments are down below. I will do my best to read and reply to as many of you as I can if you agree or disagree. Like I said, the comments, I read them all the time. I do my best to reply. So thank you so much. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. Don't forget to check out Relay as well down below in the description. Thank you so much, and until next time.